Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words that say Start Here in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet, sometimes called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet, and it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 20 years now, over 21 years now, to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again, absolutely free. You can also, from that page, download a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one, where people have been stepped through the worksheet process. And if you choose to listen to them even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And if you do that, before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on that, it will let you download a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet. It contains an abbreviated version of that worksheet process, and it contains a copy of the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. We hope people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. And secondarily, because it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. If you have any of those to share with us, we'd appreciate you doing so. You can email me at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org, or you can email Jeanie at jeanie@whyagain.org. That's whyagain.org. And if you so desired and you wanted to join us live, you can join us from 11 a.m. to noon Central Time, most 5 days a week. And you go to zoom.us, and either open up a browser window or find one of the phone numbers that they give you to call in and enter the meeting ID number 853-2357-4173. That's 853-2357-4173. And that'll give you the option to listen in. If you call in on the phone, you toggle your mute button with *6 on and off. And if you have a laptop or an iPad, or you're calling in on the phone through internet, you can join us live and either share your video or your audio or type in the chat room. And we greatly appreciate whenever anybody does that, giving us feedback about how these things are landing for them, because that makes it infinitely easier for us to live into our intention with this work. The intention we have with this work is to be of service, and it's just a lot easier to do if you'll let us know how these things are landing for you. Today's a Wednesday morning. That means we had a support group last night, and it went straight through with a lot of different discussion and processing, and somebody doing a worksheet, and more discussion and processing. And bless our hearts, each and every one of us that are diving into this kind of work and being willing to do what the worksheet says face and process out all of the dis-ease producing energies for and from all of my relations and generations, because, as Michael Ryce likes to point out, that's not Mr. Feelgood. That process of healing, that process of looking at the false beliefs I've downloaded, the process of acknowledging the traumatic energies that I might have downloaded and how unproductive their influence on me can be when those energies and beliefs get resonated later in life. So I've gotten, not a whole lot of feedback on what happened yesterday in the show, primarily because it was I had a prepared talk in the beginning of the show related to slowing down and paying attention and making sure that what I pursue, whether it's a book or a movie or a course of study or a podcast, that what I'm pursuing, I'm doing for the right reasons. Right? Michael Ryce likes to quote the little poem that defines propitiation. And he says it's the highest treason to do the right thing for the wrong reason. And so I might say, hey, I'm gonna be on the internet show 5 days a week, and I'm gonna run a support group 2 nights a week, and I'm gonna do that so I can make tons of money. Or I'm gonna do that because I really have a need for people to see me as the expert. Well, I hope you can understand how if you have different motivations for doing the things you're doing, those motivations not only color the actual activities that you engage in, but they also will color your perception as you look at evaluating, whether it's right for you or wrong for you or good for you. So I just continually call us back to that, to being more and more deeply honest as we can be with ourselves to begin with, and then hopefully with a few intimate others, and then eventually whoever you deal with, that you've removed any of the false beliefs that say you need to hide or be scared or protect or shield people from who you truly are or what they truly are, etc. And you can live more wide open and relaxed in the world. But I can't do that unless I get more deeply honest at levels I don't even understand exist when I first start that. When I set out on the path to be, one of the most honest people I know, I have no idea the levels of deceit and shame and fear and sadness and hurt and frustration that I've buried, that I'm going to need to get really honest about if I want to reach the point where I've dismantled the secrets that keep me sick. So, what is on your
Dr.
mind?
Tim.
Yes, Susan Bingham.
Susan B. here. I'm glad I didn't hear you give that speech when I started calling into the radio show so often. I would ask myself, why am I doing this? And the reasons I came up with were the full spectrum of wanting to be noticed, wanting to be successful, wanting to please other people, wanting to learn, wanting to grow, wanting to get better from anxiety and depression, the whole deal. And if you'd given that speech back then, I probably would have dared call the radio show. Even now, I couldn't tell you. It's the full spectrum of garbage to great motives. That isn't to say we shouldn't look, but you're not going to get clear answers, I don't think.
Well, the clear answers that I think you're referring to when you say we're not going to get clear answers are like directly stated conscious logical replies. And we don't get our answers that way, but we get our answers through the flow of energy and emotions and physical sensations in our bodies. And the answers are there all the time. And if we get more and more trained within ourselves to be more honest and tune into those energies, if I'm doing something from I've got multiple motives or I've got less than helpful motives going, there will be energies in my body telling me, oh no, this isn't going to be good. Oh, don't go there. So your answers will come as you learn to turn inside and get more and more honest with yourself. Your answers will come the more you ask to be shown and then put yourself in an open allowing space rather than a figure it out space. And the whole point of it is that if I'm not being honest with myself, what does that mean? That means some part of my mind is divided against another part of me and I'm hiding stuff from myself. Or I'm not really hiding it, but I pretend to be hiding it. Right? I pretend that it doesn't really make any difference, that I have this motivation or that motivation, or this fear or that anger. So I've literally set up a tension within my own mind. It's, the house divided against itself. Or, Arkil Karsa, the idea of the devil, that some part of that word means to slide, cut off, separate. And it's the root of what was brought down to us as the word Satan, right? So a being that is sliding off of, cutting off of, separating from its wholeness, from itself. That's what the concept of Satan was about. And Michael has come to the term or the phrase, the resistor, one who misleads. And we all do it. We all mislead ourselves. We all say, well, a little white lie won't hurt here, or, I can, conceal this from my lover or partner or whatever, and it won't have a problem. And they all have consequences. These are all choices we make, and they've got ripple effects. And the best we can do that I've learned so far is to just keep re-examining our motives and stepping into honesty as much as we can, as often as we can, and then just watch how the chips play out. I hear you saying that you think if I had given that little presentation yesterday when you first started tuning into the radio show that you never would have spoken up. Is that what you're saying?
Not never, but I would have probably been a lot more hesitant. I picture myself as this jalopy with the tires falling off and springs popping out of the hood. And I'm limping my way toward getting well, and I'm bringing the whole bag of garbage with me, which includes all the hidden stuff I don't even know I have. And I have to say, I'm not at the total other end of this, but there is a peace that has come. I could tell you that it worked, even though it was messy. The whole thing worked. It's still working.
What whole thing?
The whole effort to learn the tools, use them, and get better.
Yeah, well, it's pretty obvious in your case.
That's nice of you to say.
Well, because you've made and you've come on the show and you've given testimonials to the fact that you have the tiniest fraction of anxiety in your life compared
Mm,
to what it was. It's not like you don't have any anxiety,
right.
but you lived in a near panic state basically every waking hour.
Yeah. It was pretty intense. Also, though, my experience now being on the radio show is that if I had the need to do a wake up sheet, I probably wouldn't come on the radio show with it because I can do it on my own. So I'm much more of an observer at this point than I was before.
I'm hoping it's just an episodic event. I'm hoping you'll soon come to your senses.
All right, explore that, explain.
Well, if you're just stepping back, I'm just going to step back now and be an observer. That means there's less of your fresh, raw, clean, creative, loving energy getting poured into the show or the
Well, I have to.
community.
Oh, goodness. Well, that was a tremendous compliment.
No,
I
no,
am,
no, 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 no. It's not a compliment. If I tell you how tall you are, that's not a compliment.
well,
I'm
that's,
describing the experience that I've had and many others have had, and many others have come on and talked directly to you about it and said, "Oh, I love your questions. Oh, I love your processing, and oh, I love your, naysaying of this and that, so that we can actually explore these things." That's been
mm,
happening for 8 or 9 years now
mm. Well,
from a wide variety of people, not just me.
I have no intention of going anywhere. I love being on this show. It's like my anchor. I also love seeing process being done by other people. Sometimes it's very intense, and I feel as if, do I want to go there with my nervous system? Susan Fluick and her, and you're listening, so you can hear this. Your work is so intense sometimes that I'm tapping and breathing as I listen, and I think, well, I guess I have some work to do because this is overwhelming. So I'm definitely involved, but I don't, anyway, I don't know what to say. I just want to say that I guess like all of us, we're doing the best we can with the messes that we are.
Um, when you say with the messes that we are,
Right.
that's not necessarily wrong, and yet it's completely incomplete. It's certainly
Mm-hmm.
incomplete because you're not just a mess. You're also the part of you that found work like this and dedicated yourself to learning the tools and applied the tools and dismantled a lot of the mess that you
Mm-hmm.
dragged around with you for years. So it's not just the messes that we are, it's the totality of what we are.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's true.
And and when when you say you're not going anywhere, my mind wants to offer up, well, but it's okay if you go someplace or if you stay here or you go someplace else for a while and come back. And I want to, you know, I want to understand and keep at least presenting the potential challenge to this idea that whatever relationship you're in right now, you should never leave. And, we have to heal leaving on the planet, as we've talked about. That's not my perspective. And
I understand.
and different perspectives are okay. And it's a trap to try and figure out which perspective is right. because as Michael Ryce likes to point out in one of his earlier talks, it is so much better to talk about, think about, and act from a place of right versus not right for me than it is to say right versus wrong.
Yeah, true. That's true.
And sometimes, especially with the worksheet process and the word triggering and things like that, sometimes we start and we just change our words, but the meaning behind them is the same. And we don't really mean it because we can't really mean it because we haven't really grown into it. But if we keep practicing and we work with the words and we work with the tools, we might actually step into different levels of allowance, acceptance, surrender, gratitude, compassion. And that's the point that I have. That's the intention I have for being here, is to do that for myself and to assist anybody else who might have interest in it to accomplish the same thing for themselves in their own way.
That all makes sense.
And so if you need to step back from the support group that you do or the radio show you're on, it's perfectly okay. Especially if it's coming from a place in you where you've been doing the right kind of work and asking to be shown and tapping into your inner guidance, and the world is going to spin on. The flow of life is going to continue extending itself.
Okay, well, I'm going to push mute and be here.
All right. All right. That's allowed. Thank you for your comments and questions and answers and support all these years. So we have plenty of time. If somebody wants to comment or question or ask for clarification about something. And please try to remember that if you've got any of that, oh, but I don't want to monopolize the call, or, oh, I've already talked too much, or what if my question is silly? If you have any of that up, just try to remember that almost every single highlight show in the archives is the result of somebody like you fighting past that anxiety or fear or self-condemnation and raising a question or making a comment. Almost every one of them is the result of the synergy of a listener calling in and bringing up a point. Sally, did you unmute for a reason?
I did. I want to use my voice to share appreciation for Susan B. I have been on the radio show for about 4 months, and I too am grateful for all the contributions you've made and your commitment to this work over the years. I've only known you for some, like less than a year. And I just feel such a closeness with you and gratitude for you. And I love the clarity with which you speak and the willingness of your heart to do the work. And I just wanted to say those words. And I was about 20 minutes late getting onto this call because I'm still helping with cleaning attic and garage at my mother's house. So I lost track of time in that debris, but we're making good headway, and I can't wait for it to be complete. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able-bodied and able to work with family members, even in tough moments, because I come in and do a worksheet. And if I didn't have this tool, yesterday I might have exploded. So I'm serious. I
I
am
believe it.
so
I
serious.
believe family and cleaning up. Yep, I believe it.
Oh, it was just it was a complete series of misunderstandings and going into stories about things that weren't real. And of course, I was the target of everybody's rage and blame, and I had no capacity to receive it. To like if I was well regulated and not hungry and not tired and not overworked and overwhelmed, I might have been able to manage it. But in the moment, I went straight to rage and thought, I need to turn around, stop what I'm doing, go in my room, do a worksheet, and see if I can take the next step. And then it prompted 9 worksheets yesterday because of that. And I was like, oh, good, I get to do this. And so, the old me would have been, oh man, I got to go do a worksheet. And the new me is like, I can stop and drop into my heart and go do it, use the tool that I know works. So thank you, Tim, and thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Yesterday was a big day for worksheets for people. You're like the third or fourth person I had a woman come into the session and she had 9 that she'd done yesterday.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, really, I recognize, I don't try and make a lot at the conscious logical level with this, but I recognize that we have these themes that flow through communities like this. Just like for
Mm-hmm.
years, I've noticed that in my caseload, there will be themes that people will bring into my office. And it seems like, this month, everybody I see has somebody with, cancer in their family. Or, this month, everybody I see is struggling with there's an alcoholic somewhere in the family. Or this month, everybody I see has got some history of childhood sexual abuse. It's amazing how those themes unfold and have for years, for decades in therapy. And as I talk to other therapists, they've recognized the same thing.
Oh,
Well,
man.
especially in a community like this, when you get this much psychic energy, mental, emotional energy, um, psychological energy, life force energy in people that's aligning around a kind of a topic, it, Michael Ryce likes to talk about his vitality meter and how we vitalize each other by being in community. And so, he talks about people if they're sitting at a 5 or 6 level vitality and they connect with somebody that they have that spark of attraction or passion for, all of a sudden, now they each have, 9 or 10 level um, vitality because they're feeding and fueling each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that same kind of thing, um, without making it, a math problem to say, oh, now I'm at 5% or now I'm at 90%. But that same kind of thing happens in a community like this where people pay attention day after day and they hear people's stories and they listen to people do their work and they do the comparison. I put myself in, well, how would I have handled that if that happened? And oh, this person is so much smarter or stronger or prettier than me. All that stuff that's flowing around in this energetic field that we have is is real and it has ebbs and flows. It's got directions that it takes, and we can be aware of it and use it, right? Understand that I don't really need to know why I have this impulse to do this thing. I'm just going to make sure that the impulse is in alignment with my values and priorities and my goals for the day. And if it is, I'll probably try and take action on it. If it isn't, I'm going to let it go or do the worksheets I need to let it go. And in that way, each of us, as we're doing our own work or presenting our own issues, we're basically providing grist for the mill for everybody else. At least that's the hope. That's why when these things happen and I end up having a series of worksheets that I've done and or need to do, and I've worked them through enough to I think I could talk about it with reasonable levels of emotional intensity, that I start to present it on the internet show for that very reason, just because it's a teaching mechanism. And the archives are full of them, not full of them, but there are quite a few in the archives. And I was actually thinking, because I mentioned it yesterday, I think, or the day before, how somebody who listened to one of the exchanges we had back in 2014, the exchange between Michael Ryce and me, they said, I don't think I've ever heard people argue so politely. And of course, from my perspective, there wasn't any arguing going on. There was just some differences of opinions about the dynamic. But I thought about it. I thought, you know what, that might not be a bad thing to play an excerpt of in the support group, or perhaps even here on the internet show if I get to the point of editing that file enough. Just as a demonstration of how effective, positively effective it is to use the tools. And how they can be used even in the middle of an intense emotional upset. If you're somebody who has practiced facility with these tools. So, if that was in 2014, that was about 10 years into my diving into this work. So I was pretty well practiced at the tools at that point in time. And the sobbing and crying I was doing and catching my breath and the feeling I get punched in the solar plexus that was coming up in the middle of the internet show was something I could process and handle because of all of the 10 years of experience working with the tools and the confidence that these energies I was feeling would resolve. So here's to everyone who wants to make their life better, and that's a full stop. And then here's another toast to anybody who finds this work as a way of trying to make their life better and resonates with it. And we'll march on doing the best we can in each moment with whatever resources we have. I think I might have lost most of the impact or import of what I was trying to talk about with Liz Gilbert and her new book. And her new book, I believe, is titled All the Way to the River. What would that new book be titled?
Dr. Tim, there was an article in the New York Times yesterday about Elizabeth Gilbert, and the writing of that book, and the whole second part of her life being an expose of a whole different part of herself that she was willing to talk about.
Yeah, that's why I recommend it. I had somebody else send me that article, and I read it, and
You did, yeah.
and this is why I put it out here. We've been talking about fawning. We've been talking about codependence. The codependence intensive is running, Wednesdays and Sundays, and essentially her new book is all about codependence and fawning and well-intentioned but misguided decisions, and the drama and trauma of our lives playing out, even with brilliant people, even with people that have lots of money, even with people that have been rubbing elbows with people like Oprah. And I would be willing to bet people like Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra and all those people that Liz Gilbert is in those circles.
Right.
And listens to their talks and reads their books and tries doing their work.
Mm-hmm.
And even with that, what you're going to hear if you listen to one of her interviews or if you read her book is going to shock you to your toes.
Mm.
It's not light, bright, airy-fairy, happy, fun stuff. And yet it's really useful stuff to take a look at fawning and codependence and low self-esteem and stuck in old patterns, and because it's deeply honest.
Mm-hmm. Yesterday, when you were making a list of suggestions before we got into working with Susan F., you said something about what we should keep in mind, like, am I doing too much in the way of using the tools, and what are my motives, and we should be choosing tools that fit, or what is the fawning experience, etc. You said a lot of things, and among them you said something about remember that we are in a group. Do you remember saying that?
Well, I'm looking right here at my note, and I was reading from the note. I didn't stick exclusively to the note, but
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the part, don't try and read every book and every podcast you hear about. That's a trap. Please notice
Right.
if it feels like you have an urgency to try and keep up with the Joneses or read every book that everybody else has read. And then I put here in bold and caps and larger font for myself, underlined, question it deeply for yourself, not for me. Don't question it and come back to Dr. Ryce with your assignment of here's what I learned about myself. Just do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wrote is there's a huge trap driven often by ego in trying to do things to, quote, keep up, close quotes, or, quote, catch up, close quotes, with someone else, or to please someone else or to win their approval. Your struggle to keep up or catch up is only possible if you're first comparing yourself to others.
Mm-hmm.
Guy Finley warns us that the bulk of your psychological suffering is, quote, the bitter fruit of a comparative life, close quotes. So please know that the core tools offered by Michael and Jeanie and the practical benefits we observe when we use them are the main focus of this internet show and the support groups I facilitate. Full stop. Please let that sink in. And as can sometimes happen when tools this powerful and effective are encountered, people rush to the conclusion that this is it, this is the answer, this is simple, just do this, one size fits all. All anybody ever needs to do is worksheets and breath work. And I offer that that is a trap. And I offer that many people who may eventually benefit from using these tools have tons, in quotes, metaphorically speaking, tons of debris to clear out of the way before they'll be able to access and apply these tools for their benefit. Many people will have preparation work to do before they'll be able to take advantage of these tools and the benefits of this supportive community. That's the community mention. Is that what you were thinking of?
I guess so. I misinterpreted it totally. I just took it for my own meaning.
And what meaning did you give it?
It was as if you were telling us that, watch out because you've got a lot of people. Be considerate of other people. Something like that, Dr. Tim. And boy, oh boy, I don't know.
Yeah, that's not in my writing.
Okay, good.
Although it's not bad advice. If I pair it with this, I might get my ego coming and saying, "Oh, I can't speak up because I've spoken up too much already," and "Oh, I don't want to offend somebody by telling the truth." And that's not productive.
Yeah. Well, one last teeny question. You mentioned Glennon Doyle and Liz Gilbert. Was that a talk they did together or an interview?
Yes, this is the most recent podcast
Okay.
on the We Can Do Hard Things podcast. And the first half of the interview was published, Monday or whatever.
Okay.
And the next half is going to get published tomorrow. And it's all part of the promo for her book and her book tour.
Okay.
Right. And if all goes according to plan, I'll go to one of her talks on Saturday in Naperville and get a little bit more of the lay of the land.
You mean you're going live? It's going to be
yeah. It's about an hour drive from where I live.
Wow, that's exciting.
And there's a church down there that she's going to hold a talk in. It's one of those, book tour promo things.
Oh, okay. Good.
All right. So here's a little bit more of the reading that I wrote yesterday. In that awareness, I offer that Glennon Doyle's interview with Liz Gilbert was posted today. It holds some significant pieces of the puzzle for any of us who have codependence as part of their struggles, or anybody who's ever thought, gee, I'm done with that. There will be people who need to resolve significant patterns of currently unproductive, and that's in quotes, right? Currently unproductive coping mechanisms, because they were productive at one point, or I wouldn't be using them again. But there will be people who need to resolve significant patterns of their unproductive coping mechanisms before they'll be able to see and hear what these tools have to offer. There are many people who are so completely unaware of their patterns and their own dishonesty that they can seem to be encased in 4 feet of steel-reinforced concrete. They may need to stumble across information and insights offered by people like Liz Gilbert dozens of times before the concrete begins to crack. So please, above all else, take full responsibility for yourself and any tools that you choose to apply. Please spend extra energy discerning what is motivating you, and some extra energy monitoring your energy levels and your truth levels, capital T truth levels, so that you can redirect yourself if you're seeing signs that you're headed for burnout or for crashing. That was my writing from yesterday. So I don't know if that fits what you got triggered into, but I certainly wasn't trying to tell people, be careful what you say around here. That's not
right. That was something. Yep. You're right. Thanks.
Is that more closer to the take you had on it?
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Okay. Well, we've got 18 minutes left or something like that.
I have a question.
Okay.
So how does one discern as you're going along the spiritual path, clues come up along the path? So how does one discern that that's showing up in your reality for the evolution versus driven from the ego? Do you know what I mean? The overbusyness that you talked about yesterday.
Well, how do you discern whether it's showing up from what or the ego?
Yeah, so as a part of the soul evolution,
part of the soul evolution. Well, I don't know how you're going to do that. I know that one of the biggest keys for me was when somebody introduced the idea that not 3 or 4 different things are flooding into my head. One time I was listening to a Christian Science lecture, and the speaker said, the best way to discern it is to see if you can trace the current thought you're having. Can you trace it back to a God thought? And if you can't, because there's bitterness or hurt or a negative emotion in it, then you let it go. And you try and realign yourself with the God thought kind of thing. the other big thing that happened for me was when somebody said, you're going to be able to tell when it's true insight, intuition, or inspiration because there will be this calm,
Mm,
centered knowing. There's no fear in true inspiration. There's no rage in true insight, intuition.
that fits. For example, when this whole concept of fawning came out, and I started the book, by the way. She's an amazing job, the book. But yeah, that's a calm. That's it. That's very helpful because knowing when something comes in, there's no it's just almost the way I could describe it. It's almost like it just lands. Like, yeah, it almost feels like fireworks to me in a way, a calm sense of fireworks that, oh my gosh, it felt like a big piece of the puzzle. And it just landed it just came in and just like a feather that landed into my soul with that information around fawning. I will say that, and complex trauma. And then,
Okay.
of course, and then as I'm doing the worksheets, more information is coming in because it's opening my perceptual construct to see more of the truth. And
Okay.
then coupled with the fact that I always want to be the human part that wants to be learning everything, that's where is interesting. And what you said yesterday, I tend to pile, but I'm not removing stuff out of my field. So I could definitely see the opportunity for burnout with that. And you got to make space. You got to clean out the cupboards to make space for the new stuff. I get to get rid of the old stuff that's no longer serving. Like I'm involved in lots of different groups. And so, yeah, so to sit with myself and what's the most valuable for tracing it back to, as I said yesterday, right? It's my salvation I'm after. So, yeah.
So you've mentioned quite often on the show and in the groups that you very energy sensitive, and when the energy doesn't make sense, it's, you got to try and figure that out for whatever
Yeah.
reason, in whatever way. And I was not able to put pieces together last night to figure out how you were asking about the word collusion.
I sent you an email on that this morning. So the reason I sent you a beautiful, like when in my healing things show up. It was well, you'll see it. It's a beautiful video of singing. But what I said in my email to you, I realized my ego was in collusion with my reality because it's always looking for evidence, trying to convince me that my beliefs are true. And that's an intentional aspect of keeping me in separation. So that's why I was seeking that definition. And then
Okay.
in dream time, I asked you that question because I was curious. And then in dream time, a whole bunch of information came, and that understanding came to me upon waking. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just a curious question. I didn't even know. Like I felt like to ask it, so I asked it, and then it
Well,
got clear.
I just want to, because you put yourself out there that way, you talk about your energy sensitivities, you try and stay true to them. And so, you know, with all of that, holding that, and then
Yeah.
this thing comes up, it came to me last night to talk a little bit about how there's a there's a 21-year history with the Tuesday support group.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 14-and-a-half-year history with these internet shows.
Yeah.
There's dozens and dozens of people who've come and gone. There have been um, collusion. That's not the right word. Cooperation that people have done um, with each other outside of the internet shows or the intensives or the support groups. And it's not fundamentally different than any other group or church or club or whatever you've had membership in your life.
Yeah.
It's just made up with people. and people at different stages in their life, and people with different levels of woundedness that are activated and not activated, and people with different level of skill with reading their own energy or being with their own honesty. And as you come into a group like this or a community like this, there is no way for you to get all of that in one breath or in one go or in 1 year. So you might very well, if you have this, hypersensitivity to energies, et cetera, you might very well be picking up energies that it would take a month or two of shared discussions to sort it out so you understand what the root of it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you for saying that. Thank you so much for saying that. And that's the part for me. I don't want to make it, it's not my position to make any meaning of it, but I do sense, thank you. That really gives me, I want to say the word I'm going to use is validation. Because I can feel it, but I don't know what it is, but it's not my place. I don't want to know. I can't believe how much that's just resting in my being.
Well, I think that it's real important, if you're going to try to honor your own experience of these energy flows and the sensitivity, it's really important that what would be the right word here, that you relegate your intellectual mind to the proper role.
Thank you.
In that, which is not figuring it out, but it's more monitoring the visceral responses that you get and directing you back in to yourself for the corrective action, because the only corrective action you can truly take is in and with yourself.
That's it. And so yeah, that'd be interesting to unravel why. And I don't know, that question came up to ask. And actually, to be honest, I felt it the previous support group, that energy. So obviously it's in me but I felt that energy. Then I asked the question, just like I asked the question about clay feet, right? I asked the question about that, which you clarified.
Well, and go ahead.
Yeah. And then, so you clarified, that was great. And then I do always try to bring it back to self, because I do, then I bring it back. What's it about me? And like you said, if I'm denying something to myself, not consciously, of course, but it's in denial to self, or denying and dissociation myself. And even me, maybe even asking that question, there might be something within me that's doing it, but I don't know that yet. Do you understand? So there I'm seeing it out here as an energy.
Yeah, it's still a blind spot.
Yeah. So
right?
the fact
your
that
blind spots, by definition, are things you aren't aware of.
Yeah. So even the fact I asked the question, maybe that's something that I'm doing. And so the universe is so graciously pointing it out to me in the image making I'm doing, so I can find it within myself. And I'm aware of that. But you're right. Because now that we're talking about this, I can feel an energy of that, which I felt the previous week. There was an aspect that I felt that. Now, I didn't know that till we're speaking about it right now. That energy for me was there.
Okay, so there was a Michael Ryce input here that I was going to make, all related to the idea. So Michael has said a variety of times in different lectures and talks that are on the videos, right? The ones that he sells that he hasn't done for years, but they're still available. That if you want to know what somebody's issues are, just listen to their words. It's right there. It gets played out.
Yes.
And so if you listened back to last Thursday night's support group, it's amazing. All these different responses, all these different meaning makings that are going on, and all the interpretations that that are created by the listener that fairly clearly weren't in the content of the speaker that you can see when you listen back to the audio. And it's just like, my gosh, how did they take that as an attack? Or, how did they think that's their issue when I was talking about that? Or, why did they say they hate airplanes all of a sudden? What is that from when nobody was talking about airplanes? So, if at deeper and deeper levels, the more I recognize that any visceral emotional response I have is self-created,
Yes.
then I can use it in its best form for me, which as an alarm system or a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And then rewire what the culture has taught me, that when that alarm system goes off, you got to go attack somebody or run from somebody or bribe somebody or seduce somebody to get them to change so you don't have to feel this. Hurry up, go do that now. Let's go get active. Instead of that, I rewire it into take a breath and turn the focus inside.
Yeah.
And once I do that, I can apply a variety of tools, or I can ask the question, how am I creating this emotion? Or I can ask the question, what am I making this situation mean? To great effect. Because
Yes.
I'm not doing it from the, okay, what is this? I got to find it. I'm doing it from this. Well, I wonder.
Openness. Yeah,
This is
curiosity.
amazing. I wonder. I'm going to do that little forgiveness pattern meditation. I'm going to turn it into a little calm space here for myself. I'm going to be nurturing myself. Timmy, sweetheart, you're in pain. You got all tense and angry and upset there, and you're safe and it's all right, and relax. And then we'll look at what's going on, and then we'll decide what to do. But for right now, you can't see what the heck's going on, right?
Yeah.
As we hear Sylvia Boorstein say, Timmy, sweetheart, you're in pain. I hear her say, hey, your lights are out. Right? You're driving around at night with no lights. You can't see where you're going. Stop the car. Dismantle the hostility and fear. The lights come back on. There's something more closely approximating, I may never get there, but more closely approximating the capital T truth of life, what actually is. And more of that's going to be able to get into me when I've dismantled the hostility and fear.
Yeah. And interesting when you're speaking, because when you talk, so I tell me if this is true, that you go back and watch all the events again, or you listen to them again. Is that right? Sorry, the support group and
not all the support groups, but when there's a big one like that Thursday, and I wouldn't have known it was that big unless you and Andrea came on Friday and said, oh boy, did I get triggered.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And then when there's that much
you go
in
back
somebody, then I want to go back and find, it's just like when I heard a certain set of things from Michael about inner child work, and you didn't hear it at all. So that was my motivation to go back and say, okay, let me just go back to the original and find out what's here. And it's quite illuminating, because then if I do that in conjunction with doing any worksheets on any upset I've generated, and what I say, there was like 12 different worksheets on that one interpretation I threw on his words, then I get a whole different level of awareness and clarity. And it may not be clarity that helps anybody else, but it certainly helps me.
Yeah. And hopefully, I mean, my intention was that it was about me, and, it wasn't intended to project in anybody. It was to find the upset. It was an opportunity to find the upset within me and work through it. And it's very interesting, because what you helped me realize, for example, when I read the book, Stephanie Foo's book, and then the interview with her, with Dr. Ham, they had a great experience because they transcribed their sessions, and then they each got to go back and look at from an objective point of view to see where the gaps were happening. So that is an opportunity. But I'm not sure, are the Thursdays event, are they available to go back and review?
I could make you, no, they're not available. Okay. I have it, and I could send you a copy. But it's, what happened was, when we first started this, I thought, hey, you know what? People are going to understand the nature of this. They've been on the internet show for years, et cetera.
Yeah.
And it was about 12 years ago. And I expanded my office to have the Thursday group. and we had, what do they call it? They call it a hybrid. So we had people in the room and we had people on Zoom.
Okay.
And my thought was, oh, this will be great, and the people are going to want it. And some people would like to listen to the show because it's not really a show, but there's part of it that's kind of like a show because we listen to an hour of Michael Singer or Michael Ryce or Guy Finley or Pema Chodron or Byron Katie. And then we have discussion and or worksheets. So the first hour was usually we'd start right on time and start right in with a video or an audio, and then it's morphed quite a bit over the years, and now we have so many people on who've been on for so long that there's sometimes the whole first half hour is just people saying, hi, how was your week and what's going on with your cancer diagnosis or whatever.
Yeah.
How's your dog doing? And then we have a lot of times like last night where we never get to anything other than the processing in the group and the worksheet and all that. But what I originally thought I would do is edit them and upload them and have them on a page on the Mindshifters Academy where people can go and access them. And I did that for a while, and some people really liked it. And eventually we had somebody who said, oh, I don't want to talk if it's being recorded. And it's, okay. Well, you are here and you are doing some work, so if it would be of assistance to you, I won't publish this, right? Well, eventually that happened 2 or 3 times, and then I said, okay, wait a minute. Let's just flip it around, and I won't put it on the website, but I'll have the recordings, and if people want them, I can either edit out the section they want or send them the whole recording, and so that's available if you want to look at that for that.
I would love
from tomorrow.
Yeah, I would love the transcript actually. AI can do a transcript that if I can, so I can be observing and then I can see what's actually being said. That would help because
So
I might not catch the clues.
Okay, but are you saying you want me to send you a transcript, or if I send you the audio, you can convert it?
Yeah. So I don't know it because AI does it automatically on Zoom. I don't know like that. Like I know when I send stuff out, it's automatic. There's a transcript, an AI transcript that goes with it. But that's okay. You send me the video. You send me the video. I'll figure it out. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for acknowledging the sensitivity. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, and